Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, one of these two guys are going to win MVP later this season in the NFL awards, but these two put on another show that will be remembered in playoff history. I want to focus on the Ravens in this recap just because I saw a lot of the same issues I've been seeing with the Ravens, especially in the Lamar Jackson era since he was drafted by the team in 2018. A lot of times we see Lamar make a ton of great highlight reel plays. He's just a freak athlete with the speed and a rocket arm, and I do appreciate all those things. But in the playoffs, this is a different version of Lamar. This is yet again another postseason campaign where they shoot themselves in the foot and they fail to win multiple playoff games. For whatever reason, they can do something really well one game and then just not have it translated to the next game. And for whatever reason, it's the same thing. You're focusing way too much on Lamar and his arm rather than his legs. You get away from running the ball, or the team as a whole just has fouls or penalties at the worst times possible. This is all kind of coming back to a reflection of John Harbaugh. I'm not calling for him to be fired or him to be put on a hot seat, but this is just a reoccurring theme that I'm seeing out of the Baltimore Ravens. And Lamar, too many times now, has just come up short in these big moments. I mean, I think he did spectacular in the second half, but his first half performance, the interception, where, what are you doing, man? You're just overshooting it to the moon, basically. And the fumble, just trying to get too cute. The snap was high, but you caught it. And at that point, if you don't see an option to throw the ball away, I know DeMar Hamlin was crashing down into the pocket. At that point, eat the sack. I saw the replay. I mean, it would have been at the 30-yard line. And I mean, Tyler Bass made a 50-yard kick. I'm sure Justin Tucker, who's responded after a midseason slump, that he could maybe make a kick that was within the 50-yard range, even in wintry conditions. There always seems to be some type of mishandling, whether it's turnovers, it's some type of shortcoming with these Ravens that I'm just kind of appalled, where no matter what happens, there's just something that goes wrong where they fail to replicate such a good playoff performance. I mean, against the Texans last year, they were perfect, and they dominated that team 35-10.
But then in the AFC Championship game, they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs at home.
In the previous week against the Steelers, they were excellent. They won 28-14. They looked dominant, but for whatever reason, Derrick Henry doesn't get the ball, and then Lamar's not really featured on running plays. And then talking about Mark Andrews now. Mark Andrews had probably the most forgettable back-to-back drives of his Ravens career, where you're getting momentum back, you're down 24-19, you have a chance to take the lead, and unfortunately, after making the first down reception, he's trying to advance the ball, but he loses possession. It's recovered. The Bills cash in with another field goal, and now you're down 8 with a do-or-die situation. And yet again, Lamar does some theatrics. He does what he needs to do, gets the ball into the end zone, but you need the 2-point conversion. And I thought the play call in this situation was great. A sprint out to the right. Lamar maybe has an opportunity to run it in if he needs to, but he had Mark Andrews is wide open in the flat, and Mark Andrews is a first-team All-Pro tight end, at least in his past, and still has a lot of that in his game today. The ball needs to be caught. It was placed perfectly. I don't want to hear excuses. I know there's a lot of Lamar haters out there, but that particular play was not on Lamar Jackson. If you think about the turnovers, I mean, so many of them resulted in Bills points. The second fumble that Von Miller nearly took back to the house was taken in for a touchdown by Josh Allen. Then red zone problems. You think about the pass where it set up first and goal at the 2-yard line in the third quarter, and for whatever reason they go backwards to the 8-yard line and have to settle for a Justin Tucker field goal. Those things, those failures to execute in the red zone and then hold on to the football and execute late. I mean, you have Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, and Derrick Henry, and somehow you go 0 for 2 in 2-point conversions that you absolutely have to have. It's inexcusable. I mean, there's just too many times where they just get in over their heads and fail to execute late. And I feel like unless the Ravens are a team that's simply blowing you out and you keep it close, they will find ways to shoot themselves in the foot. Unfortunately, that is just the label that they have. And now let's talk about the Bills, because I don't want this to just be me shitting on the Ravens during this recap. The Bills defense has done phenomenal. I mean, that first matchup, Derrick Henry ran all over them. And unlike the Rams, where yes, you had a bunch of sacks, but you failed to contain Saquon Barkley, they did a pretty good job on Derrick Henry. I mean, there were a couple times Derrick got loose, and the fact that they were able to keep him under wraps early, I think deterred Todd Monken from dialing up some run plays for Derrick Henry late. To set the tone, I mean, first and goal at the 2-yard line, you knock him back for a negative play, and then you force Lamar into a sack on the next play by Greg Rousseau. I think that's just a compliment on this improved Bills defense that is a lot different than their first match. I mean, Matt Milano wasn't there, and there were so many other people in the secondary that were missing. But the Bills are relatively healthy, and they finally get a chance to get back to Kansas City, and this might be their time to finally vanquish that demon. This is their best shot at doing so. They have so much around Josh Allen. They're not Josh Allen centric. They're not trying to appease Stephon Diggs, who can be a diva at times. And I think this is such a well-balanced team that from top to bottom, I think you're pretty confident in them going into Kansas City and pulling off an upset against the Chiefs.